Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Quite the news day about to happen here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. A lot of world leaders. You'll be able to see a number of them coming up, but including, of course, the second meeting between Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine and President Trump when it comes to the Oval Office. So this is the second meeting ever when it comes to this year, 2025, between Volodymyr Zelenskyy and the president. That'll be at the Oval Office. We'll bring all of that to you here. Also, later today, a number of world leaders from Europe, all in the White House there, focusing in on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So quite the news day. I'll have the first section of news, the first half, if you will, and then Robert McNeely will be here for the latter half. And both extremely important when it comes to world events and what's going on out there, especially, of course, between Russia and Ukraine. This is President Trump posting "Make America Great Again" as well. So a lot of specifics to be had today. We have a lot of news stories to go through, a number of videos from the social media accounts there with the government. Just to bring kind of a 24/7 recap, President Trump has been posting a ton this morning and yesterday. So we'll go through a number of those posts. So in the meantime, let's go over today's details when it comes to what you'll see throughout this entire broadcast. This is one of those broadcasts that will be for the entire of its entirety, meaning there will be no other live stream that you'll have to click on. It's going to be this one through about 4 o'clock or however long it takes to see the following things happen. So we're about to see, again, that second White House meeting this year between President Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. If all goes well today, generally speaking, there will be a trilateral meeting between President Trump, President Zelenskyy, and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Again, that remains to be seen. It's that TBA, TBD. Will it happen? We'll see. If all goes well today, that's what the president has said, that there would be a trilateral meeting. We'll get to some of those Truth Social posts in a minute. Before we get to one of our interviews to start off the broadcast, there's a number, again, of live elements and live videos that we can go to. So in the meantime, here's today's White House schedule. At 12 o'clock Eastern, European leaders will arrive to the White House via the South Portico. So we're looking at the south lawn of the White House, the South Portico. That's where the European leaders will arrive to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to list off the world leaders that we've seen reports of that will be there. Some have posted on their various social media accounts that they'll be there. We're going to go over that list in just a minute. So that's at 12 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, President Trump will greet the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Again, his second trip to the White House this year. We know what happened during the first one. We were all here for that. We'll see how the second one goes. We'll also look at 1:15 after the president greets Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The two leaders will hold that Oval Office White House meeting. So that's at 1:15. An hour later, at 2:15, Robert McNeely will be here in studio to cover the remainder of the broadcast. That'll be with President Trump greeting the European leaders in the state dining room. At 3 o'clock, the president will participate in a multilateral meeting with European leaders. That will be held at the East Room of the White House. So let's go through the list of European leaders who will reportedly take part in this White House Summit 2025. I'll just name it that today because it is what it is. It's a summit. I mean, it's a group of people that are the world leaders of a number of nations from our country to Ukraine. We just saw, of course, on Friday, quite the numbers of people. We're talking more than 2 million people watched just between a couple broadcasts on Friday. And a lot of people, of course, already on now, and that number will grow. We're told that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will be in attendance later today, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, the Finnish President from Finland, of course, Alexander Stubb, the French President Emmanuel Macron, the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. She'll be there as well. So According to the White House rapid response page, citing Fox per a statement from Carolyn Levitt, President Trump invited everybody here because he remains more determined than ever to end this war. If this meeting goes well between the president and the president of Ukraine, again, there will be a trilateral meeting. It'll be between Putin, Zelenskyy, and Trump, most likely right there at the White House. That would be quite the viewership as well. And always, you guys can watch throughout the week. And as we cover, whether it's a big story or really what's happening out there, it's always that conservative angle when it comes to what's common sense and what is really happening out there. So we always keep an eye on a lot of the stories, pretty much all of them, especially within the 24/7 news cycle that we see on X, we see on Truth Social, we see from the White House Office of Communications. There's a lot that we follow here. And then on top of that, we're common sense Americans just like you guys are. So it's great to be on the right side of history, seeing things happen before our eyes during this historic presidency, the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. So it's 11:06. We have a number of video elements to get to. We have a number of interviews to get to. At 12:30, Justine, Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center will join us to talk about today's big day. And also, Newsbusters is celebrating 20 years, so that'll be cool to talk about. And then also, we have a number of other people from either the Media Research Center or Newsbusters, CNS News, that will be throwing to a couple interviews here in just a minute. Also, on Thursday night, the Pardon Me, Bevelyn B. Williams movie premiere happened. If you remember watching a few weeks back, Silk was on the broadcast. Bevelyn B. Williams was on the broadcast talking about what that was like to go through, where President Trump pardoned 23 pro-lifers that pray outside of various facilities. And the whole situation there where she received, I believe it was 41 months for something that was not 41 months worth of a punishment. We have a movie premiere video that we'll be showing you that yours truly on an iPhone, technology is crazy these days, right? That I did on Thursday night. It's about a 2-minute video. We'll take a look at that a little bit later as we continue to cover what's happening today. Again, President Trump posting a lot on Truth Social. We'll go over a lot of those posts, and we'll get to these interviews at any minute from now. In the meantime, we did just hear from the White House Office of Communications saying that California's sanctuary policies gave way to a Florida tragedy. So we're told 3 innocent Americans are dead after an illegal alien semi-truck driver attempted an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike and caused a minivan to violently crash into the truck's trailer. The illegal alien is an Indian national who was granted a commercial driver's license by the so-called sanctuary state of California, reading here from the White House press release, whose reckless policies put the lives of American citizens at risk every single day. But instead of acknowledging the tragedy, criminal illegal alien sympathizer Gavin Newsom callously doubled down, claiming that giving driver's licenses to illegals and quote unquote improves public safety. So the White House says while Democrats put criminal illegal aliens over the Americans they claim to represent, the Trump administration provides no such safe harbor and is seeking to place the individual into removal proceedings. The White House also says how many more innocent people have to die before Gavin Newsom stops playing games with the safety of the American public? That was asked from the Department of Homeland Security. We pray for the victims and their families. Secretary Noem and DHS are working around the clock to protect the public and get these criminal illegal aliens out of America. So that story, that tragic incident recently happening, and again, receiving that from the White House Office of Communications just moments ago, really within the hour. A lot of tragedy out there that could be prevented if we would just follow suit with what the American people wanted from day one. Shut the border and have a mass deportation operation. That is what we voted for in a majority. And we see that happening. We have a few videos. One that I like from ICE. These ICE agents are out there on a street and they see along a fence at a park. It's not, it's more like a city kind of park. So it's more along kind of a concrete jungle feel. It's not like a park, maybe in suburbia or in rural America. And there's these anti-ice sediment signs. We'll go to that video in a bit. We'll see what I believe a Hispanic ICE agent, because we heard that I think 50% of the ICE agents are Hispanic, which is, who cares? Great. White, Hispanic, black. That's the stuff that the mainstream media likes to talk about. So why don't we go to that clip right now? I heard that the clips are ready to go. So that's clip 2, guys. This is ICE agents sign removal. Check it out.
Mine. We're taking America back, baby. Esto es para América. Los Estados Unidos es número 1. Lo estamos tomando otra vez de nuevo.
That is such a cool video. You have an ICE agent saying, we're taking America back, baby. And it's just great because that's something that, we the people would like to say or have said through voting for President Trump. It's our country. The majority of the people said we want President Trump. That means the majority of the people want what President Trump's agenda is. There's a lot of news stories, of course, out there to cover. There's a lot going on. Will there be any indictments with the Russia hoax? Will we get more information from the DOJ and regarding the Epstein, case and situation? These are things that we've been seeing in those so-called news headlines. But we, the people, of course, want to know what's going on with our country. We see that President Trump, of course, was just in Alaska. Quite the reception there from people in Alaska with Trump flags, and that whole situation there, seeing the Russian plane and the U.S. Air Force One plane. Again, a lot of people, of course, watching that. I'm sure a lot of you that are watching right now. And as we continue on with our coverage today, watched that coverage on Friday, Robert McNeely in studio for just several hours. And like today, again, if you're just joining us right now, of course, it's 11:12 Eastern time on this Monday, August 18th. I'll be covering the first half of today's events. Robert McNeely will cover the second half. And then we'll go over specifically again, who's all participating in these meetings. We'll go over the schedule, the timing for it. And then we'll get into some interviews. We'll talk about a number of topics. And we'll basically facilitate what we're about to see today, which is a massive White House summit between a lot of world leaders going to be in that building today on this Monday, August 18th. Before we continue on, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com. You want to be prepared, of course. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. Well, other pharmacies, they're raising prices. All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin, mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code that you see there, RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule. There's hydroxychloroquine, again, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. You can fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it. Your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you'll need. You can go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that code RSBN10 to save the extra 10% off. Let's go to monetary gold as well. Bank of America just announced that the US dollar is on the verge of collapse. So think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us that when paper money falls or fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. That's why now is the time to call monetary gold. the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So all you have to do is call 888-617-7964 or visit rsbnforthegold.com. That's a great website right there, rsbnforthegold.com. You can do that all today, of course. Don't wait for the collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. All right, so that's Monetary Gold, a great new sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as it's 11:15 Monday, August 18th. A lot going on today, as you guys know. That's why you're here watching. That's why a number of people will be added to the audience, as we are here for you. And we want to cover, and we will cover, the happenings, the goings on of the day, just like we do every day here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to an interview in the meantime, and we'll get through a lot of videos as well coming up. Before we do all of that, let's go to Craig Bannister. He's the managing editor at CNS News. Take a look. And joining us now on RSBN is Craig Bannister, the managing editor at CNS News. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Can you tell us first, before we go into the D.C. situation with the National Guard, tell us about your experience at CNS News and just overall coming in as a conservative, really coming against the liberal bias out there?
Well, I've been here for 20 years. I've done media relations. Right now, as you said, I'm managing editor of the CNS News blog. That's one division of the Media Research Center. I would say our flagship is our Newsbusters website, which painstakingly documents and exposes liberal media bias. The organization itself was founded by Brent Bozell. His son, David Bozell, is now our president and has taken the helm in this past year. CNS News strives to provide news that's not only accurate, but also the type of news that you won't get anywhere else, and that provides often a different angle of the news that everyone else is reporting in a boilerplate fashion.
Yeah, definitely a solution to mainstream media, just as we are here, conservative media, and you guys as well, and a number of outlets out there. It's great to see that uprise of conservative media. Your thoughts about that? This is something that we only had Rush Limbaugh back in the day for. Thank God for that. But now we have a lot more speaking on the right side of history.
Absolutely. You're seeing the growth of new media and conservative media. Yes, Rush Limbaugh was a great founding father today, and back then you also had Mark Levin, who's not only a best-selling author but also a constitutional scholar.
Yeah, it's great to have people that are on the right side of history speaking truth into darkness out there. Let's go to now Washington, D.C., where President Trump called on and called in the D.C. National Guard to cut down on crime. Personally, I think this is a great idea. I think a lot of people out there are saying, finally, something can be done, and it's nothing against the local law enforcement. They're just not allowed to do their jobs according to the Democrat mayor or a Democrat judge, right?
Well, I think that's right. I have a liberal friend who lives in D.C., and last time I spoke to him, I think he said he'd had his car broken into 5 times in the past year.
Wow.
You've got to be a staunch liberal to defend those kinds of numbers. And certainly there is a crime problem in D.C. Despite what you hear in the legacy media or coming from Democrats. Again, there is so much, what would I say, manipulation, even of accurate numbers that fall on both sides. As far as the issue of crime being down in D.C., I did an article yesterday. The police union, head of the union, he said this is preposterous. He said that from the officers that are out there, they know that there's no way that crime is down, certainly not by the amount that's being reported. And I think the issue is bigger than this too. Yes, by far the overriding concern is cleaning up crime in D.C. and protecting citizens. As I said, statistics show that the homicide rate in D.C. is 7 times larger than it is in New York, and a multiple of the times in L.A. and other infamous cities. But in addition to that, I think it's also significant that D.C., the nation's capital, be clean and safe as an emblem for the rest of the world. People shouldn't have to fear or be uncomfortable when they come to the nation's capital from other countries. And I think it should be viewed by world leaders as a place that's clean and safe and welcoming.
Exactly. I agree with you 100% on that. Also, shifting gears, wanted to get your take, your thoughts on how everything stands when it comes to the DOJ investigation into the Russia hoax. Do you think that we're going to see any indictments? I mean, isn't there evidence and receipts already out there?
Well, as you know, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, put out a rather lengthy report documenting some of the things that went on in the Obama administration. And it definitely seems suspect and dubious. And we know that U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi recently announced grand juries, but we don't know the names of the people that the grand juries are considering indictments against. Yes, the whole thing definitely seems suspect, as you know from the DNI's report, that apparently President Trump got an intelligence, President Obama got an intelligence report suggesting that there wasn't any collusion between Russia and Donald Trump. And he rejected it and sent it back and told them to create a report that said that there was. Likewise, DNI has put out a report of a whistleblower who apparently was coerced into going along with the finding that there was this Trump-Russia collusion, and that Russia wanted Trump to win the 2016 election. Personally, I find that ridiculous on the face of it, since we know Donald Trump's history with dealing with characters such as Putin and hostile countries.
Exactly. It's just the amount of I think, and others think, other crimes, to be investigated. Russia is just one thing. There's a lot of lawfare that was against President Trump and a lot against we the people, right, with the weaponization of government. So we see that we're going to have to monitor that moving forward. And Craig, before I let you go, thanks again for joining us right now. This is Craig Bannister, the managing editor at CNS News. Sir, what advice or what encouragement would you like to share with the American people out there, whether this is seen by 1,000 people or 20 million? What would you want to say to them moving forward for our country to be saved?
I would say shun the legacy media, and if you can't do that, trust but verify everything you hear. Again, a lot of it is extremely nuanced, and you have to look past the literal of what you're being told by the likes of MSNBC, and see the subtext there, see the insinuation. There are other sources of news out there. There's CNS News, there's Newsmax, there's Mark Levin. Even if you're on the left, pay attention to both sides and maybe add them together and divide by 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's many fake news outlets out there, and it's great to be on the side of conservative media here at Right Side Broadcasting Network and a few others out there that are really, resonating with the American people, just like you guys there at CNS. So, sir, thank you so much again for joining us. Craig Bannister, the managing editor at CNS News. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so 11:25 this morning, a lot happening today, of course. That's why we see a number of people already on all of the platforms watching us live. If you watched us on Friday, man, there was more than 2 million people watching, and I'm sure those numbers will continue to grow. It reminds me of the millions of people that watched the election night coverage, more than 5 million, then more than 6 million for the inauguration. When it comes to all of our social media platforms out there, we see the views, and you think about it, this is something to be very grateful for and valued, because this is a lot of years of work for Right Side Broadcasting Network since 2015, and all of those rallies that you guys watched and some of you attended, and somebody that's watching right now may have been interviewed on Right Side Broadcasting Network, because we always are and are around the people, right? All of us. Because this is what is supposed to run the country. We, the people, we're the ones that elect the people that we want in office, except for 2020. And anyway, so hopefully we'll have these safe and secure elections. Also, speaking of that, we're going to go to President Trump's Truth Social posts in just a minute. One of them is about election security, election integrity, and the like. So, and it's some good news too, because it's number 19 out of the 20 core promises that we've seen from the White House. So we'll be looking forward to going over that Truth Social post in just a minute. Before we continue on, let's go to Kalshi.com. You can download the Kalshi app or just go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. So there's a lot of places that you can, bet and trade out there. But Kalshi has more than 1 million users. And also, there's so many topics that people talk about on Kalshi.com. So you see one right there. Will Zelenskyy, what will he say? What kinds of angles will there be? That's right there. You can check all of that out right now. Specifically, we know that when we look at what the markets are saying on Kalshi, the largest U.S. prediction market about what Trump will say during his meeting, today with Zelenskyy. Also, you can trade on what will happen at the meeting, what will be said, will they shake hands, and more, all specifics like that. I'd like to check out Kalshi to check some of the odds, track the sentiment out there. This is the only place, of course, to trade on these kinds of events legally in all 50 states. And you get a $10 promo for users who sign up with that code RSBN and trade $100. So we'll see what happens on this day as we continue to monitor today's events. Again, Kalshi.com, a great sponsor here. You can integrate your live polls into your stories organically and use them as a reference, of course. That's what we can do here as well. All right, so it's the bottom of the hour, 11:30 Eastern time. Let's go to angelpaste.com as well. All right, so obviously there's a lot of products on Angel Paste, including the Miracle Cream right there. So once you go there, you'll see all these different products. You can use the RSBN promo code. That'll give you a percentage off. RSBN, of course, always a good code to use. Getting that percentage off these great products. This company out of Spring, Texas, of course, angelpaste.com, a longtime sponsor here at Right Side. Proud and glad to have them with us, along with all of the sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it is, again, the bottom of the hour, 11:28. Getting ready to see a lot today. That's why we're all here watching together. And this is what we'll be covering throughout the day. Robert McNeely will be in studio maybe around 2:15. It just depends on when the meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy is completed. Then the European leaders will be meeting with President Trump as well. And I believe Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be a part of those meetings as well. So there's just a lot of coverage today. We're going to go full steam ahead for several hours right here on this live stream. As we continue to monitor what's happened in the 24/7 news cycle, highlight a few videos that we've seen within that 24/7 news cycle. We'll be looking at the Trump on Truth segment in just a minute, a lot of posts from the president. And also, Pardon Me is a movie out there, the Bevelyn B. Williams story. You might want to research a little bit if you need a refresher on that, because she just had a movie premiere the movie about her life with a number of stars in it, and was able to make it out there to Atlanta. My wife and I went to that movie premiere, and I got a little video together using the iPhone and iMovie and put something together. We're going to show that in just a bit. Speaking of videos, let's go to the White House when it comes to Social Security in America. Here's that video.
In the campaign, I made a sacred pledge to our seniors that I would always protect Social Security. And under this administration, we're keeping that promise and strengthening Social Security for generations to come. I signed one big, beautiful bill and allowed no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Social Security will be great again. You got my commitment.
This is a proclamation both commemorating the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act, and it also obviously mentions the fact that as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a vast majority of our senior citizens are no longer paying taxes on their Social Security benefits, as you promised in your campaign and as you delivered for the American people.
Okay, we'll get to a number of more videos here in just a second. Also, I was just seeing a report from Ashley Brassfield. Of course, you saw her at Right Side Broadcasting Network over the past year when it comes to various rallies and coverage. We even had that live interview with her from the Gulf of America a couple months back. It was pretty cool to see that. Just got back from the Gulf of America over the weekend, did a quick weekend trip there, and a lot of jellyfish. A lot of jellyfish, but very warm waters, beautiful, beautiful sunrise and sunset and all of that. Great, seafood and all that. So if you get a chance and you're in that Southeast region, there's still time, of course, to get down there to the Gulf of America. But if you live in other parts of the country, of course, I'm sure you had hopefully a nice summer vacation. There's still summer left in August, of course. But anyway, back to the point here. So the House Oversight Committee, according to Ashley Brassfield with the Daily Caller, they're going to withdraw the former FBI director and special counsel Robert Mueller's subpoena over health issues. So if you remember, this is something that James Comer from Kentucky, the representative, said, we're going to subpoena a number of people to testify on behalf of a number of things out there, including Epstein case involvement, that kind of thing, and just asking questions about a lot of different things. Again, you can go back to James Comer's X page to check out the laundry list of people from Hillary Clinton to, Bill Clinton and others, including James Comey. But also we're hearing that House Oversight Committee is withdrawing the former FBI director and special counsel Robert Mueller's subpoena over health issues. Now, that's specifically just about a testimony there with the House Oversight Committee. It doesn't mean that, if there's still wrongdoing with evidence and receipts, that's a different story, but that's a story that I just checked out there on the Daily Caller. In the meantime, let's go to a video we played off the top of the broadcast because it's something that you don't usually hear from. You don't hear from the actual ICE agents out there in the field, but this time you do. Check it out.
Mine. We're taking America back, baby. Esto es para América. Los Estados Unidos es número uno. Lo estamos tomando otra vez de nuevo.
I remember watching an interview on one of the networks, and someone with DHS said about 50% of ICE agents are Hispanic, and it's someone there, speaking Spanish, speaking English. That's awesome. But the point is, obviously, you can speak different languages from whatever race you are. But the point is, it's an interesting fact. You think that on the mainstream media side of things that this is United States versus Mexico only, and it's only certain kinds of people that are involved in ICE and certain kinds of people. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. What matters is law and order and following the law here in this country. So we see ICE agents out there doing a great job. We see the southern border closed. We see a lot of wins happening. Of course, we're monitoring all sorts of news here at Right Side. And then today, a lot of news right here live with you. So I'm glad that you're here with us as we get ready to see a number of live elements today when it comes to world leaders. I'm going to go over that schedule again. If you're just joining us now, at the top of the broadcast 34 minutes ago. I went over the schedule and who's all going to be participating in these events today. We're going to go back over that in just a minute. Before we do, let's go to Making America Safe Again, clip 3, the DHS putting out a video pretty recently as well.
This is Micah Bach, Deputy Assistant Secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. This week marked 200 days of Secretary Noem making America safe again. Thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem, we have the most secure border in American history. Now that the border is secure, the battle for the soul of our nation turns inward as federal agents work day and night to arrest, detain, and deport vicious criminals from our nation's capital. Washington, D.C. is the heart of our republic. Its monuments, institutions, and hallowed halls represent the finest hours of our nation and urge us towards a new American golden age. Yet for too long, this capital has been tarnished by crime, disorder, and neglect, threatening the very symbols of our national identity. Decline is a choice. Greatness is a choice. And together under the leadership of President Donald Trump and Secretary Noem, the Department of Homeland Security is taking historic action to restore safety and ensure that Washington, D.C. stands as a beacon of American greatness. With federal agents patrolling alongside local law enforcement, we are reclaiming our streets from violence, clearing drug dens, and rooting out crime that dishonors the legacy of our nation. This is a fight to protect the cultural and historical soul of America. The Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol, and the White House are testaments to our values of liberty, strength, and unity. This city on a hill, dull and degraded as it may have become under previous administrations, will shine once more. Beyond the Capitol, DHS's transformative policies are reshaping our nation. In under 200 days, 1.6 million illegal immigrants have left the United States, a monumental achievement, while over 100,000 brave Americans have answered the call to join ICE. This exodus of criminal illegal aliens translates to safer streets with reduced crime in our communities. This means billions of dollars in taxpayer savings, relieving the burden on public resources. Our schools and hospitals are regaining capacity to serve American citizens, and job opportunities are returning to hardworking Americans. With a 93% reduction in Southwest border encounters and 0 parole releases in the last 3 months, DHS has dismantled the open border policies of the previous administration. These numbers are proof of a government that prioritizes its people. The winds of change are sweeping across this nation. Dawn has arrived, and we'll see you next week.
All right, so awaiting the number of things to happen here coming up. At 12 o'clock, the president, of course, there at the White House, but the world leaders, these European world leaders, will be going there at 12 at the South Portico, so the south lawn of the White House. That's where they'll be entering. So I believe we'll have a live picture of that. Again, I'll get into the schedule here in just a minute. Before I do, let's go to one of our great sponsors, Utah and Florida. They just passed these bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water for the last 8 decades? So RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists actually found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water cause more than a 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. That's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and it gets straight to work. So they have this ClearWave technology, and that ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water. So anything that isn't water, which is kind of funny to say, anything that isn't water, well, what do you mean? Meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, and even forever chemicals, they get filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try Cove Pure water, you're not going back to the tap water. It makes your water taste so good. So the best part is it has this touch screen that lets you choose whatever temperature you want. So cold, hot, warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash. But the government, of course, should never force you to ingest it. So take back your right to choose. Click below or go to covepure.com/RSBN. And for a limited time only, you'll get a special discount of $200 off Cove Pure. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN as well. It should be this free shipping sale, and there it is. So more than 2,000 products on that. I was speaking with some family just yesterday on the ride back from the Gulf of America about the Giza Dream Sheets, because I saw that there was a discount on there, and I asked my wife, how much did we pay last time for those? And it was about $30 more than what this discount is now. So it's a good time to buy, always a good time to buy with MyPillow, but free shipping's an extra added bonus. So go ahead and support Mike Lindell. We all love him on the right side of history. And there you go, mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, so again, 20 minutes to the top of the hour. So President Zelenskyy to arrive at 1 p.m. Eastern. Why don't we do this? Let's go over some of the schedule, and then we'll get back into some of the videos that we have for you, a number of interviews as well, as we continue to facilitate today's coverage and bring you live pictures there. So this is what we know. At 12 o'clock, the European leaders will arrive to the White House via the South Portico. So that is the North Lawn. That is the West Wing, of course, where the world leaders usually, like Zelenskyy today, will show up. President Trump will greet him at 1 o'clock. But before that, in just about 19 minutes from now, the European leaders will be on the other side of the White House, the South Lawn, via the South Portico there. That's where those European leaders will arrive. I'm going to go over the list of those European leaders in just a minute. And before I get to that, I was speaking with one of our directors here at the network, and we were talking about the amount of people that are going to be at this White House summit is quite astounding, because there's a lot of big name countries, big, leaders in Europe. And then, of course, with, Eastern Europe, Ukraine, and then, President Trump just meeting with Putin in Alaska. And what we're hearing is, again, there will be a trilateral meeting if everything goes well today with the Zelenskyy-Trump meeting with Putin as well. So that's something that's been talked about, not confirmed, of course. We have to see what's going to happen. So we're going to see it today. And if you were with us a few months back, remember when Zelenskyy was there at the Oval Office and what that was like? That was quite, that was must-watch streaming. And I remember President Trump saying to Zelenskyy that, that Zelenskyy didn't have the cards. And President Trump says, I have the cards here. And we remember that whole back and forth. But times hopefully have changed since then. We'll see today. But we know that President Trump's been on the phone with Zelenskyy, with Putin, just met with Putin the other day. And of course, when I talk about all of these international, news topics, I'm still focused on the same thing President Trump talked about this morning on True Social: make America great again. We still want to see all these great things for our country. But we know that having things go well with other nations can also benefit us, but also the killing to stop is the main key that President Trump is really, really going for here. And that's what he's been talking about, even on the campaign trail. All right, so again, 12 o'clock, European leaders will arrive to the White House via the South Portico. 1 o'clock, President Trump will greet Vladimir Zelenskyy, the Ukraine leader, right there at the White House outside the West Wing. At 1:15, so as soon as we see the president and Zelenskyy there wave to the cameras, they'll go in and then walk over to the Oval Office. As soon as we see that live feed in the Oval Office, you better believe we'll be going there live so we can watch that together and see that meeting happen, see what President Trump says, see what Vladimir Zelenskyy says, and we'll see if that'll be opened up to reporters. Usually it is. Will it be different today? Will it happen later when the European leaders are a part of this whole meeting later in the day? So we're just monitoring it all, as they call it, a fluid situation. That's kind of what this is here. So we're going to continue to monitor it. All right. So after the meeting with Zelenskyy, at 2:15 Eastern, President Trump greets the European leaders in the state dining room. At 3 o'clock, the president will participate in a multilateral meeting with the European leaders. That will be held in the East Room of the White House. Now, another conversation that the director and I had prior to the broadcast is, well, will Zelenskyy be in this meeting later with the European leaders? I said I believe it will happen that way. So we'll see. We'll have to monitor that as well. Also, we can go through the list of the European leaders who will reportedly take part in this White House summit. We know that Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be there today. We also have heard the following. The Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will be there. German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, the President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, the France President, Emmanuel Macron, the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, will be there. And according to the White House Rapid Response page, citing Fox per a statement from Carolyn Levitt, President Trump invited everybody here because he remains more determined than ever to end this war. That per Carolyn Levitt. So that is why we see so many different leaders. I mean, let's go over those leaders again. So we have the Ukrainian leader, Italian. So let's go over the countries: Ukraine, Italy, Germany, Finland, France, the NATO Secretary General, and then the EU Commission President. So have you ever seen this? I haven't seen this many world leaders. Usually it's one world leader or two maybe will meet President Trump there at the White House. Or maybe there's a summit like a G8, G7, G20, whatever, and you see all the world leaders, right? When's the last time we saw 5 million world leaders, obviously joking aside, but this many world leaders at the White House? I don't know. I don't remember that happening. But again, President Trump's an unprecedented president, and we like that. And we want to see more wins. That's what we want. And we're allowed to say that because we're the people, and we're the ones that run the show, hopefully. But we're seeing that happen right now. We know President Trump and his team are we the people as well. And that's really cool. That's straight up cool, right? Isn't it? That we have a leader that is saying, you know what, I'm doing this for the American people. I stood up for freedom. I went through all that lawfare, went through attempted assassinations, and still winning. Yes, we want to see, a lot of people want to see people be held accountable, especially at Russia hoax and other stories. We've heard a lot of people on our network talk about that. And the DOJ still talking about, the Epstein case. We know that there's specifics, hopefully, that will be released there. We'll see. We're monitoring all of it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And again, on top of that, many wins happening with those 20 core promises, from sealing the border to the mass deportation operation to defending the Constitution. We know we don't want to be like a country like China. We don't want to be, and this is sad to say, we don't want our country to be like parts of California. And I hate saying that because I've been there, and a number of you have been there. A number of you might be watching from California, even though it's 8:47 in the morning, because there's a lot of great MAGA patriots there. And MAGA patriots, it's simple. When we look at that, it's like us versus them type thing. It's not really that. MAGA patriots are we the people, are common sense Americans, everyday Americans, the majority. And and when I say majority, a majority could be 51% versus 49% or whatever, right? No, a massive majority, I believe, are on the right side of history. Those are landslide victories that President Trump had over the past 3 elections. And we know what happened in 2020. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But my point is, I don't want, and I know you don't want, to see our country ever go to anything like if New York City has Zohran Mamdani in charge. We don't want that. And we don't want our country looking like anything. We want our country looking like the US of A. Come on now, right? We want our country looking like what it's been, and even greater than that, but all for freedom. That pride that we sense. I posted something the other day on Truth Social. I was at one of the stores out there. I had to go run out and get some zero water filters anyway. But the point is, I have to buy now Cove Pure because Cove Pure looks amazing as well. But the point is, I go out there and I see it was almost sunset, and this Jeep had an American flag on it. It was on the gas cap. It just looked cool. Took a photo, posted on Truth Social, and a lot of people liked it. And it was simple. I said something like, I just love when I see Old Glory, the sense of patriotism. I said something like that. I just love seeing it, and for what it stands for. It's that, and speaking of Old Glory, right there, it's awesome. that's what it's about. And I know you guys know that. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you can't say it enough. In the studio here at right side, to the left of the camera and to my right is an American flag. And it's always good to have that right there. I mean, I could continue on with the inside baseball stuff before we get to our next sponsor and that kind of thing. So We the People, Documents and Writings of the Founding Fathers. It collects 15 significant and historical texts, including the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Common Sense book, the Federalist Papers. I'm not getting any money by showing you the book. It's just the basic stuff of our studio. You know, we are like you. We want our country to win. We want our freedoms to continue on forevermore until the return, for those of us that are Christians out there, Jesus to this earth, you know? Anyway, Old Glory, great to see it. Our great flag of this United States. As we are 10 minutes from the top of the hour, let's go to one of our great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, All Family Pharmacy. Now, you want to be prepared, of course, and you want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits. But most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. You can stock up with them on your essential medications, order exactly what you want and keep it on hand so you're already, prepared and ready for anything. Well, the other pharmacies are raising prices. All Family Pharmacy has actually lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications. Medications like ivermectin and mebendazole. Plus, you get an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. They offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, starting at just $2 per capsule, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. All you have to do is fill out your request online, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your medications shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use the RSBN 10 code to save that extra 10%. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's also go to Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. If you missed any taxes over the past couple of years or just need some extra assistance getting everything taken care of there, all you have to do is go to tnusa.com/RSBN. Also call 800-357-1415. Always good to talk to somebody on the line about all these things that are happening out there. If you have any questions about your taxes, or again, if you missed a year, give them a call, or maybe you missed a few years. Just give them a call to help you out. Tax Network USA, 11:52 this morning. Thanks for joining us. We are looking forward to seeing, I believe this video is now from the South Portico. So we went from the West Wing, where Zelenskyy, the Ukraine leader, will be meeting President Trump. That's at 1 o'clock. So if everything's perfectly on time, that means in 7 minutes from now, we're going to see the European leaders right there at the South Portico of the White House. They'll go into the White House. President Trump will meet up with them after the Zelenskyy meeting. Let's just go over the timing once again for those of you who just joined us. So 12 o'clock, European leaders will arrive to the White House via the South Portico. At 1 o'clock, an hour later, President Trump greets President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. At 1:15, the two leaders, Zelenskyy and President Trump, will hold that meeting at the Oval Office, part 2. At 2:15, an hour later, the president will greet the European leaders in the state dining room. So they arrive there at 12 o'clock in the South Lawn, on the South Lawn. They enter through the South Portico. Then after the president's meeting with Zelenskyy, the president will greet the European leaders in the state dining room. The question is, and I haven't seen it yet, and we're going to look over President Trump's True Social post, but will Zelenskyy be a part of this meeting with the European leaders a bit later? I would say yes. Why not? All right. At 3 o'clock, then the president will participate in a multilateral meeting with the European leaders. That's going to be held in the East Room of the White House. Again, the UK Prime Minister, Italian Prime Minister, German Chancellor, the Finnish President, of course, Finland, the French President, the NATO Secretary General, and the EU Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, will be there. as part of this huge summit that came out of nowhere, really. I mean, we knew that stuff like this is being talked about, but that's a lot of world leaders, and we're going to see it all unfold right here. Again, Robert McNeely will be in studio for the second half of the coverage. So after the Zelenskyy Oval Office meeting, he'll pick up coverage from there. We're going to stay live on this broadcast the whole time. There may be a couple commercial breaks, but those aren't that long, of course. And we have our great sponsors that we like to share with you here. And without our sponsors, we would not be able to do what we're doing here. We would not have this live feed. And for those that already are donors with RSBN, thank you again for the cash, the checks, the debit card, whatever you guys would give right side. You're really feeding into conservative media and helping RSBN be able to afford everything that you see on your screen here and what's going on. So it's great to be a part of that family. We are 5 minutes from the top of the hour. We have 5 minutes to go over a few other videos. Again, if we see anything unfold there live, we'll, even when we're talking about, and even if it is a sponsor or if it is a video, we can always go to, if we see President Trump, or go to the live event and come back and continue on with the various activity that we were in at that moment, because this is all RSBN live, everything happening live right now. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to a video about making Washington, D.C. safe. And I'm going to say it this way. Maybe not safe again. Well, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, it was safe back in the day. I looked at a video, I forget what year it was. I think it was 1954. I also posted a video, and it had the old school announcer on there. And this is the U.S. Capitol, and there, that kind of thing. It was pretty safe then. So yeah, make DC safe again. Let's go to clip 4 and check that out as soon as it's ready.
We're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope, safety, and beauty better than they have ever been before. We will take over our horribly run Washington, D.C. and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital so that it is no longer a nightmare of murder and crime. We're going to get all the graffiti off the marble. We're going to fix the roads and the medians, which are falling down all over the streets. Washington, D.C. will become a symbol of beauty, security, freedom, and strength.
I remember a few months back being with my family there in D.C. and seeing the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. It's something that's super special, man. When you walk in there and you see that statue, and you know that a man like Thomas Jefferson did so many great things for our country and what we see today. Of course, there's the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, many great memorials there. And it would be great to see that the National Guard, the DC National Guard, they're there for that 30-day, stint, but hopefully that'll be extended. I want it to be. Do you want it to be? Like, wouldn't you rather, local PD work with the National Guard to have things safe? They're not going around and just randomly taking people. The only time that may happen is if there's a criminal illegal alien, or if somebody's in the middle of a crime. I mean, what do you want? Just them, whoever? And when I say them, it could be anybody from any walk of life. You could just have somebody up to no good. You have to take care of it. You have to make it safer. We've seen the carjacking reports there. We've seen the assaults. We've seen the murder. This has got to stop. And so we see that with the DC National Guard walking the streets of Washington within a perimeter. I'm not sure what the perimeter is at this point, but hey, let's extend it. I hope the DC National Guard can stay there longer than 30 days. So we'll see what happens. And if needed in other cities across the country, why not? Again, why not? It's our country. We want law and order. If the majority of the country wants law and order, that's the voice of the people. That's our will. That's our decision. And then we see that President Trump and the team is doing that. And don't make me play the video for a third time, which I'm going to now that I said it. Director, can we go to that clip again? Let's go to clip 2 and see that our ICE agents, and I'm not just talking about specifically ICE, but what the ICE agent said here is very, very simple, but very, very profound. Listen to what the ICE agent said. Go ahead, take a look.
Mine. We're taking America back, baby. Esto es para América. Los Estados Unidos es número uno. Lo estamos tomando otra vez de nuevo.
The large majority of our country agrees with that guy right there. I don't have to do a poll. I don't have to go to another rally, which I would love to. I don't have to do any of that. That's common sense. That's what we voted for. So him saying we're taking back America, baby, can you not agree with that? Holy smokes, right? Old glory there. Beautiful to see that. Again, that's the South Portico. We're getting ready to see the European world leaders arrive there. It's supposed to happen right now. It's 12 o'clock Eastern. Whether that happens now or at 12:05 or 12:25, whatever, we're going to be here for you. We also have a live interview coming up at 12:30 with Justine, Brooke Murray of the Media Research Center, and then President Trump on the other side of the building there. So that's the South Lawn. On the other side, we'll be seeing then around 1 o'clock, Volodymyr Zelenskyy pulling up. President Trump will greet him. And then 15 minutes later, it'll be a meeting with the two leaders inside the Oval Office. So a lot to happen here on Right Side. Glad you're here with us as we cover the news of the day. Specifically, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. So you have two options there. There is a third option. A number of people for a long time have sent us checks. So if you'd like to, we have a P.O. box for that. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Again, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you guys for donating to Right Side here at Auburn, Alabama. And, you know, I'm from the Northeast. My family's from the Northeast. I love it down here. It's a beautiful spot, and it's great to be here. And, yeah, we'll see what happens. So 12:02, Monday, August 18th. All right, so looking forward to seeing a number of these world leaders there. We're going to see the president on the other side of the White House in just a bit. Speaking of the president, let's go to one of our other clips that we have here for you. This is the Alaska Summit recap. I believe that the White House or President Trump or his team posted this video, but we know it's from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's where they edit these great videos. Take a look.
I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say. We really made some great progress today. I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting and many points were agreed to. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team. We're going to stop thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon.
Again, if you're just joining us now, what a day that was on Friday. Robert McNeely in studio. Holy smokes, there was more than 2 million people that watched both broadcasts. I mean, added together. And then, I don't know, maybe it's 3 million because I know that one of the sites had 957,000 views. Another one had 1 million. That's just on one site. So we've got Rumble, YouTube, X, you know, there's Truth Social, Truth Plus, of course. There's our app, our website. It's just great to see it, you know, because all of you guys that are watching, you know, you're on the right side of history when it's conservative media, you know, kind of like this. And I'm going to say this, and I don't know if it's the right time to say this or not, but I'm just going to say it because why not be transparent? What Rush Limbaugh did for this country, we all know how awesome Rush was. Why not in conservative media, us take that baton and keep going with the Rush style, you know? Tell it like it is. Ooh, the mainstream media, they hate that. That's why they have so many teleprompters and producers and corporate people saying, say this. Nah, we don't want any of that on conservative media. We're here for you guys. We're part of you. You know what I mean? We the people. Let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post. I believe this is clip 7, Director. We're looking at election integrity and security. President Trump says, I am going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines, which cost 10 times more than accurate and sophisticated watermark paper, which is faster and leaves no doubt at the end of the evening as to who won and who lost the election. President Trump saying earlier, we are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating the votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. With their horrible radical left policies like open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender and woke for everyone, and so much more, Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam. Elections can never be honest with mail-in ballots, voting, and everybody. In particular, the president says, the Democrats know this. I and the Republican Party will fight like hell to bring honesty and integrity back to our elections. The mail-in ballot hoax using voting machines that are a complete and total disaster must end now. This, according to the president, as I read his Truth Social post. I know that's a lot of words on that screen right there, but we're almost done. But it's also great to see President Trump speaking about this. So remember, without fair and honest elections and strong and powerful borders, you don't have a semblance of a country. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. 12:06 Eastern. Let's get another live look there on the south lawn of the White House. Okay, we see that. You come up for air, let's go back swimming. Let's go to clip 8, the Alaska recap from President Trump. He said, of course, the other day, a great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Vladimir Putin of Russia went very well, as did a late night phone call with President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. So the president's saying this on Truth Social, and various European leaders, including the highly respected Secretary General of NATO. The president said on Truth Social that it was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelenskyy will be coming to D.C. Of course, that's today, the Oval Office on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially millions of people's lives will be saved. Thank you for your attention to this matter, that according to President Trump as well. As we await the world leaders there, the following Truth Social posts from President Trump decided not to have a graphic for every one of them, because I'm going to read through a lot of them, because really a lot of these happened just this morning. So let's go through a few more of President Trump's posts as we await the European leaders. We'll go over the schedule again so you know what to expect. We have a few more videos to go to, and we have a live interview coming up in a bit. But before we get to all that, let's continue on and go through some of the president's words here. President Trump said this morning, I've settled 6 wars in 6 months, one of them a possible nuclear disaster. And yet I have to read and listen to the Wall Street Journal and many others who truly don't have a clue. Tell me everything that I am doing wrong on the Russia-Ukraine mess. That is sleepy Joe Biden's war, not mine. I'm only here to stop it, not to prosecute it any further. It would have never happened if I was president. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I don't need the advice of people who have been working on all of these conflicts for years and were never able to do a thing to stop them. Of course, reading here on the screen near the camera right now, just reading the posts of President Trump. President Trump continued by saying they are stupid people with no common sense, intelligence, or understanding, and they only make the current Russia-Ukraine disaster more difficult to fix. Despite all of my lightweight and very jealous critics, I'll get it done. I always do. President DJT. President Trump also saying this morning, I am totally convinced that if Russia raised their hands and said, we give up, we concede, we surrender, we will give Ukraine and the great United States of America, the most revered, respected, and powerful of all countries ever, Moscow and St. Petersburg and everything surrounding them for 1,000 miles, the fake news media and their Democrat partners would say that this was a bad and humiliating day for Donald J. Trump, one of the worst days in the history of our country. That's why they are the fake news and the badly failing radical left Democrats. Thank you for your attention to this matter, the president says. Might as well go through a few more. President Trump this morning saying D.C. gave fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety. Let's just stop there, though. And we'll continue on that post in a second. Washington, D.C. gave fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety. How many other cities is this possibly happening in? This is really about life and about death, or life and about injury, or life and getting your car stolen, or life and fill in the crime blank. President Trump continues saying this is a very bad and dangerous thing to do, referring to D.C. giving fake crime numbers, and they're under serious investigation for so doing. Until 4 days ago, Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe city in the United States and perhaps the world. Now, in just a short period of time, it is perhaps the safest and getting better every single hour. People are flocking to D.C. again, and soon the beautification will begin. I want to look up the information that I researched just, on the D.C. National Guard. I'm scrolling through that on my laptop right now. Let's see if I could find it on the fly here. There it is. So the D.C. National Guard, now that they're mobilized in the federal city, here's what I've researched. It's something that you guys can research as well, simply by going to the D.C. National Guard website. But there's 2,700 plus soldiers and airmen available. 2,700. It was formed in 1802 by President Thomas Jefferson to defend the newly created District of Columbia. As the only National Guard unit out of all the 54 states and territories, which reports only to the president. So the DC National Guard is the only one that reports only to the president. It retains the mission as protector of the District of Columbia. And under those notes, I put, thank God, make Washington, D.C. safe with an exclamation point. So that's some of the specifics when it comes to the D.C. National Guard. Pretty cool to just know that that was created by Thomas Jefferson. Talk about some great history right there. Let's go to a sponsor as we await the world leaders there. Monetary Gold, one of our great new sponsors here at Right Side. Bank of America just announced that the U.S. dollar is on the verge of collapse. So think about that. Your savings, your retirement, your paycheck, all losing value faster than ever. History tells us that when paper money fails, precious metals win. So gold and silver have been the ultimate store of value for more than 5,000 years. That's why now is the time to call Monetary Gold, the trusted name in physical gold and silver. They'll show you how to protect your retirement savings before it's too late. So all you have to do is call the phone number that you may see on your screen. Yep, it's right there. You can also call 888-617-7994 or visit rsbnforthegold.com today. You don't want to wait for that collapse to happen. Be ready before it does. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see what happens. Monetary Gold, a great sponsor here at Right Side. All right, so we have a number of European leaders pulling up. We'll tell you who's all there in just a second. Let's go there live.
Up. Ready, open.
Mr. Secretary.
Is it okay?
You look very handsome as always. Nice to see you.
Ready, close. Thank you so much. Ready, shut.
Very
How are you? Yes, supervisor. So good to see you. Good to see you. Ready, two. Ready, face.
All right, so the first one there at the South Portico, the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. So that's the first world leader there when it comes to being a leader of parts of the world when it comes to the NATO secretary. Still waiting on a number of world leaders from the UK, Italy, Germany, Finland, France, and then also the EU leader, Ursula von der Leyen. So we'll be monitoring that South Portico. I believe that everybody will be there by the 1 o'clock hour because we may have to have a split screen or triple screen where we see the front of the White House and the rear of the White House, the back of the White House there, because Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be pulling up to meet President Trump outside the West Wing, scheduled for 1 o'clock. So a lot going on today. Just like on Friday when you saw President Trump in Alaska for that summit there. All right, so in the meantime, though, I'm going to continue reading a few more posts from President Trump, and then we'll see, how many minutes between each of the world leaders. We'll just kind of navigate this live coverage and continue on. Again, thank you guys for watching and streaming in here on Right Side. All right, let's go to President Trump. All right, so we talked about D.C. and those fake numbers. Let's stop. Let's go there right now to the White House.
Ready, pop. Ready, open.
Madam President, what a pleasure to see you again.
Ready, close. Ready, shut. Ready, two. Ready, face. See you next time.
All right, so the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, there now. So we have the EU President already at the White House. We have the NATO Secretary General now waiting on 5 world leaders. Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, Giorgia Meloni of the country of Italy, Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, President Alexander Stubb of Finland, and President Emmanuel Macron of France. So once those leaders are in-house, that means we'll be seeing them again a bit later when President Trump meets them at the state dining room after President Trump meets with Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. Again, that's at 1 o'clock where what the schedule is for Volodymyr Zelenskyy on the other side of the White House. So you're looking there. This is the South Lawn, right? This is the South Portico. On the other side is where the entrance of the West Wing is. That's where usually when one world leader pulls up and the president steps out to greet that world leader, that's what we're going to see on the other side of the White House. I know it's kind of a lot going on, and that's that picture right there on the bottom right of your screen. So the North Lawn is the bottom right. The bigger screen there is the South Lawn, and where the world leaders from Europe will be are arriving right now. So we're going to monitor this together and see everything happen live from Washington. Pretty cool stuff. Technology is pretty cool. I know it's been around for a while, but it's still pretty sweet to see. You guys are watching if you're watching in Iowa right now, you're seeing this live right here. And I know live TV has been around for a minute, but what hasn't been around for a minute is conservative media. Mainstream has. Anyway, all right, so 12:18, Monday, August 18th, here live right now. All right, so we have one more coming up. Let's see who it is. Let's go there.
Right, yeah. Ready, two. Ready, doors. Ready, pop. Ready, open.
Mr. Prime Minister.
Ready, close. Ready, shut.
Okay, so next up, the leader of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, the prime minister there, walking in to the South Portico. So now we have 4 world leaders yet to go. The Italian prime minister, the German chancellor, the Finnish president, and the French president. So once they all arrive, we'll continue to do what we're doing here. We'll go back and forth until they're all there. And then we'll go to the north side of the White House and see Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. And then we'll see the leader of the free world, President Donald Trump, greet Vladimir. And then must-watch streaming, of course, is going to happen. It's already happening now. Really, anything in conservative media, wherever you watch, whatever you watch, I mean, really resonating with everyday America, you know, really resonating with truth and common sense and just really telling it like it is. That's what President Trump has done more than any president I've seen in our lifetime, right? Has done. Mainstream media has not done that. Conservative media does that. We tell it like it is. There's no, what do we, you know, why would you go through all these false narratives? And because we know the difference. One is more Marxist and communist and wants to control the people. And it's just this evil kind of, ugh. And then the other one is real people that say, hey, I want freedom in our country. I want the Constitution to be the law of the land. I want, you know, all those things. That's the difference. And we know that the majority of people, not only in our country, but around the world, want freedom. You know, people of China, I'm sure, and it stinks because you can't even, they'd be afraid to even talk about it. But they want to be free. The people of Iran, the actual people that are not part of the, you know, well, that government and that stuff. I remember watching a video of Iranians saying, hey, I'm not part of, I don't want to be with this Islamic Republic thing. I just want to be free, you know. I'm born here. Just imagine if you were born somewhere else, right? And some of you might be watching that were born in another country. But the point is, for those of you, the majority of you most likely are Americans, right? Born here in this country. Just imagine if you were born in X, Y, and Z country, right? You'd want to be free. You wouldn't want a government to lord over you. That's why our country, and as you guys know, is the greatest country on earth. So, and we want to protect that. We want that to be saved. I don't want just President Trump for 3.5 years. And when President Trump moves on, he's still going to be a powerful political figure. And we're going to hear from him. It's going to be great. I'm sure he'll be holding rallies, even post-presidency, who knows? But we want our country to continue and get stronger and better beyond President Trump. It's happening right now. This is the time. Those midterm elections, as you know, are super, super important. The 20 core promises, extremely important. Those that broke the law against our country, having them be held accountable, extremely important. Or if all the so-called bad people that broke the law, if they don't get, you know, they're not held accountable, then what happens the next go around? Peter Navarro said it right there outside the White House on the North Lawn. He said, if you don't hold these people accountable, he said, I'm afraid this would all happen again. And think about how bad it would get. It would be really, really bad. It'd be 10 times worse than Biden, 1,000,000 times worse than Harris would have been. It'd be really, really bad. Our country. That's why we all voted the way we did for the past 3 elections, because the majority of us are hardworking Americans that love God, family, and country. 12:24 Eastern, we are awaiting Giorgia Meloni from Italy, Friedrich Merz from Germany, Alexander Stubb from Finland, and Emmanuel Macron, the French president. So we know that later at 2:15, the President Trump will meet up with these European leaders at the state dining room. Will Zelenskyy be part of those meetings? I think he will be, so we'll see. We'll monitor it. We do know at 3 o'clock that the president will participate in a multilateral meeting with the European leaders. Talk about a secure building right now. that perimeter there's probably a lot of perimeters of security and law enforcement and everything, because think about it, there's a lot of world leaders right there in that one section of town. So 12:24, let's go over a few things as we await the next world leader. It is 12:25 Eastern. In about 5 minutes, Justine Brooke Murray from the Media Research Center will join us live. We'll just talk about today's big day there at the White House, and also talk about the 20th anniversary of Newsbusters, which is pretty cool. So we'll learn about that in a minute. We'll go there in just a second. Let's see if there's another video that we can go to at this point. I think that what we'll do is, since we're having so much of the live activity now, we're just going to have to hold off on going to videos and interviews as I see another vehicle pulling up. So let's go to the next European leader. I wonder which one it'll be. I mean, this is a good one for Kalshi, by the way. Which world leader's next?
Ready, doors. Ready, pop. Ready, open. Ready, close. Ready, shut. Yep. Ready, 2, 1, ready, face. Finland is next. Yeah. Do they have a...
All right, so the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, just stepping into the south portico of the White House. If the camera there outside of the White House there, that's one pool camera that all the networks would use. It looks like they're standing at attention for another vehicle to pull up. If he were to pull back just a little bit, the flag that is to the left of our great old glory is most likely the flag of the next leader that's showing up. So we have Germany, Finland, and France, the leaders there. Emmanuel Macron of France, Alexander Stubb of Finland, and Friedrich Merz, the Chancellor of Germany. So those are the three leaders that we're awaiting. And then there'll still be one more leader on the other side of the White House in about 30 minutes. That's Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. So we're watching here with you. This is all live right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to, quickly, unless I just saw a car there. Director, did you see a vehicle in the foreground? Okay. Let's go to Kalshi.com quickly, Kalshi.com/RSBN. This is actually a perfect thing to talk about, because these are the kind of things that people are actually looking at polls or betting, trading on Kalshi.com/RSBN. So just download the app or go to the website. All sorts of topics: science, technology, faith, sports, weather. You can check it all out there. More than 1 million users right there on Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will President Trump pardon this year? There's other questions that you can see on there right now. So let's go to angelpace.com quickly as well. Spring, Texas, great group of people there that hire military veterans. You have that Miracle Cream there. There's a number of other products that you can check out. Use the RSBN promo code to get that percentage off. Always good to save money. Always good to have a good product. Angelpace.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's the bottom of the hour, 12:30. Looking forward to seeing who is next. If I were to guess, I would say the Finnish president. Let's go with Finland. The reason why I say that is I saw the flag, a little bit of the corner of the flag that was being brought over. And if you look at the colors of all the flags, you can maybe tell which one's next. So I'm going to go with Finland. If I'm right, great. If I'm wrong, great. All right, so Monday, August 18th, we're going to see the leaders coming up here. We can see some of the flags moving down from various military members there. So we're going to continue to monitor this. I do have a number of, interviews to get to and that kind of thing. But of course, this is the live event that we're covering. We're going to stick with this. And then we'll get to our interview with Justine Brooke Murray momentarily, as we await a number of world leaders yet to show up there at the White House. Again, according to the White House Rapid Response page, citing Fox, that Carolyn Levitt said President Trump invited everybody here because he remains more determined than ever to end this war. So this is what we're seeing. Will it happen? We will see. Will there be a trilateral meeting between Vladimir Putin of Russia, Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine, and the leader of the free world, President Trump? Will that happen this week? I don't know if I heard it from President Trump or where I heard it, but it could be as soon as Friday for something like that to happen. So it just depends on how today's meeting goes. That, according to the president, if you look at his Truth Social, and that makes, to be honest, reporting very easy when it comes to hearing from the leader of the free world or a president, where instead of waiting for maybe a press release or from someone else, you're hearing directly from the president or reading directly from the president on Truth Social. And in the meantime, I can go over a few of those Truth Social posts that we've been seeing here by President Trump. He was speaking about the D.C. fake crime numbers. He was speaking about Russia and Ukraine. He said earlier today, this morning, a big day at the White House. We have never had so many European leaders here at one time. So there's that answer from earlier. If you're watching the coverage, I was saying, well, I haven't seen something like this, in my lifetime. I act like I'm like 80, which, by the way, if you're 80 and watching, thank you so much for your just being a citizen of this country and also watching right side. But the point is, President Trump confirming that we've never had what we're seeing today. So this is history. Right now, we're covering it. And they've always said that about journalism. You're the first writer of history. In this case, not writing, but reporting on a historic moment. So President Trump said again, quote, a big day at the White House. We have never had so many European leaders here at one time. A great honor for America. Let's see what the results will be. President DJT. Also, President Trump speaking about a number of other topics here. Let's see if I'm trying to stick to all of the ones that have to do with the story at hand. We'll get to that in just a second because I'm hearing that there's another leader on the way. So let's go there now live.
Ready, two, ready, doors, ready, top, ready, open. See you. Ready, close. Ready, shut. Ready, two, ready, face.
All right, you're watching RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's 12:32. So yes, the Finnish president there, Alexander Stubb, was the most recent world leader that just walked into the south portico of the White House. So the south lawn of the White House is right there. They're walking into the White House. They'll be seeing the president a bit later. We're going to go over the schedule again just to bring everybody up to date on what's going on today. There's a lot of moving parts, including Volodymyr Zelenskyy is going to be walking to the front of the north lawn of the White House in a minute. So what's next will be the French President Emmanuel Macron. Then the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz will be showing up in just a second. In the meantime, let's go to Justine Brooke Murray with the Media Research Center. Justine, thanks so much for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thanks for having me back. Always great to join you.
Yeah, definitely. Great to have you here. So let's talk about this. I mean, we're talking about this huge White House event today with all these world leaders. Your perspective, what's your perspective on it?
Well, we can always see how the media will spin this. And even before this happened today, we already saw people like Jake Tapper try to blame President Trump for Russia killing those 5 Ukrainians in that strike. He claimed, well, it's because President Trump hadn't reached a ceasefire deal, a ceasefire yet. So we're already seeing the legacy media do the same old song and dance. No matter what comes out of this meeting, they're just going to say, oh, well, President Trump is once again supporting Putin because he's actually trying to negotiate and do what a president is actually supposed to do, which is try to keep peace and end wars for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah, isn't it something that if you were to check out some of the mainstream media, and I know that's what you guys do at the Media Research Center, to see all that liberal bias over there, and we know it's liberal, but you guys have these specifics and these stats that are just mind blowing, but you think about what we're seeing today. How would the mainstream media cover an event like this? He's trying to bring people together to make the war stop in Ukraine and Russia. We know that there's a lot to get done in our country, and he's working on that too. But how are they going to spin this one?
It's pretty tough, even for people like Joe Scarborough on MSNBC. He actually said today that he seemed to agree with how President Trump is handling things. Even Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, that was pretty shocking. And one of his panelists tried to push back, saying, oh, well, we don't know about that. President Trump, same old song and dance, he's bad. And even he had to push back. Maybe it's because MSNBC is flailing and Joe is worried about losing his show also, to the point where MSNBC thinks that changing their name to MS Now, it's called apparently, will do anything to get their viewers back or still exist.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I did not hear that. So is that something that they posted online? They're called MS Now instead of MSNBC?
Yep, or for short, they say they're just MS, like multiple sclerosis. Excuse me there. Yeah. But yeah, MS. Really, it should be MS LED, like misled, or MSDNC. I guess that's already been taken, MS LSD. But Joe went on this really excited rant today, announcing it, saying, well, this is going to make sure everybody knows that we're not just the legacy media. He actually said legacy media. Oh, we're going to look more independent now. Sure.
It's so wild. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. They know that it's a sinking ship, and they are trying to grasp at any viewers possible because, what is it? 30% of the country. I mean, if we were to go really loose on the 70 versus 30%, 70% on the right side of history that voted for President Trump, 30%, it's probably more, but there's not a lot of people that are watching that junk anymore.
Exactly. And I really believe that's why Joe and MSNBC are actually not bashing President Trump as much as I would have expected them to today about meeting with both Putin and Zelenskyy.
Yeah, they're really trying there, but the people we see through all of that, they're just trying to remain relevant. If you really want to remain relevant, speak truth, speak common sense, be on the right side of history, where the majority of the country is. Let's shift over to Newsbusters. So you guys are celebrating 20 years. Your 20-year anniversary. Tell us about Newsbusters. What is it? And then also how excited you are about that.
Certainly. For decades, Newsbusters has fact-checked legacy media bias, and that includes upping clips, pointing out segments, MSNBC, CNN, all the legacy media outlets you can think of, clips of their hosts and their commentators lying, everything from lying or stating their hatred for America. A lot of people don't realize these clips that have been re-upped and posted and gone viral online, it's because of Newsbusters. This states even beyond before Chris Matthews, his viral clip in 2008, where he claims that Obama, the way he speaks just gave him thrills up his leg. That a very cringy, creepy moment when he bragged about how President Obama just turned him on so much on MSNBC. That was Newsbusters that posted the clip. We call him out. We've done everything for every 4th of July. It's always MSNBC or CNN. They claim that we're founded on stolen land, the usual song and dance. I remember Bristol Palin, Sarah Palin's daughter. She was made fun of by MSNBC. This was years ago. She was assaulted, and MSNBC said, enjoy the clip. They were showing this clip of how she was beaten up, and they actually say, enjoy. Like they were deriving joy out of their political opponents getting physically assaulted. And we can see the same song and dance today. Don Lemon, he recently stated on air, and we
Justine,
have the clip.
If you could hold 1 second, we're going to go quickly to our next world leader. They're live. We'll be right back with you.
Close. Ready, shut.
All right, so that's the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. Next up, and the final person we're waiting for, Emmanuel Macron of France. Back to your point, Justine Brooke Murray, thanks again for joining us. As you see, guys, on the screen there, Justine Brooke Murray, she is with the Media Research Center. Let's get back to your point about Newsbusters and some of the clips that you guys have been known for over the years.
Yeah, well, certainly. Well, we're just talking about how the legacy media outlets, they've been supporting left-wing violence, and this has dated back for ever since, even beyond, before Newsbusters began, and that's why we've begun. But a lot of the same things that MSNBC, CNN has stated back in 2005, when we first started, they've said the same old script today. Don Lemon in 2020, he actually said that America was being destroyed. America was under attack because President Trump wanted to stop the rioting and the looting at the hands of BLM. And now we saw the same shtick after ICE came in and tried to stop the rioters, the illegal aliens rioting in California.
Yeah, it's ongoing. You know, a number of these people that have been on the air on the left side of history are now no longer at some of these networks. They're just trying to save face. They're really just trying to be like, hey, we're not that extreme. No. You know, and it's like, yeah, you are. And you approve these kind of scripts and these kind of talking points. As you know, let's talk about that. I don't remember, was it Zucker over at CNN? Some of their morning meetings were leaked, the audio, and the whole thing was way on the left side of history there, all the information there. I mean, the people already know, don't they?
They certainly do. And you're right. They're trying to save face. We even saw this with Terry Moran when he was axed. He was fired because he went a little bit too far on social media and went on this tirade against the president. And then right after he was fired, he said, you know what? I might as well just throw everybody else under the bus. Suddenly, he's claiming to be a moderate. And suddenly he claims, well, he was actually the moderate all along, even though he was responsible for years of bias at his outlet. Suddenly, he claimed that, well, his newsroom just wouldn't allow any other opinion except for the radical leftist opinion. Well, no, and that was thanks to you, Terry. And suddenly he's trying to make nicey nice with people on the right because he's realized he's ostracized both parties now. He's ostracized his own team because they're looking at him like he's poising for the network. And that's the way they're looking at every other crazy left-winger. Anyone could be next. Rachel Maddow could be next. And they're all shaking in their boots right now.
Yeah, I hear you. And we'll see what happens. Is it true that The View is going to stop airing? But also outside of this, too, isn't it great to see, you know, networks like Right Side and other conservative media, and you guys have been at it for years. Was it 84, 87? You guys have been around for a while. Obviously, I know you're celebrating 20 years, but it's been a while.
It really has been. The Media Research Center had started before Newsbusters, even years before Newsbusters. And then we started Newsbusters to have more of that media focus to every day we pop up viral clips of people on The View, of that round table of very round women talking about how miserable their lives are and how they're oppressed, how Whoopi stated recently that life for her as a Black woman in America is just so much worse than living under the tyranny in Iran. Imagine saying that with a straight face. Imagine being Whoopi Goldberg, where you're rich, you're famous, you have everything you could have ever wanted in this country, and yet you're saying this country is worse than the Islamic Republic of Iran. Our Newsbusters site, we're responsible for making that go viral as well, and much more. But no matter how much the pendulum swings, you will always see these radical leftists who have never, up until now, they were never used to any opposition, because whatever they said went. They were in charge of the Overton window of thought. And even though the pendulum is swinging to the normal side, people are standing up against it. RSBN and other conservative media outlets are popping up. They're still going to be out there, and there's still going to be so much content for us to cover, because they'll never stop squawking.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on out there, and it's great to be on the right side of history covering all of this. Finally, before I let you go, Justine, can you tell us why you personally do what you do every day when it comes to, this is a job, but there's also passion behind it. It's not just a job. It's a job that's also saying, hey, you know what? We are allowed to have freedom of speech. We can talk about things that resonate with the American people. So why do you do what you do every day?
It all started on a college campus. I remember being a free speech advocate at Syracuse University, and I also wanted to be a journalist. But when I tried to work at our campus TV station, it was run by leftists who are the same types producing and even getting high executive and anchor positions at these legacy media outlets today. Those were the same students, or at least the same type of students and people who thought like them, who actually had banned me multiple times from the campus TV outlet because I would not report their leftist orthodoxy. And it really inspired my career. It was the reason that I took interest in the Media Research Center, and why I'm just so happy and passionate to be able to call out their bias in the legacy media every day, and have an amazing group, an amazing team working with me. They've been working for decades. I only started last August. So I have a great team to learn from and to work with every day.
That's awesome. It's great to be on the right side of history again in conservative media. Justine, Brooke Murray, thank you so much for joining us with the Media Research Center.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Let's go to Emmanuel Macron, the French president, pulling up right now.
Ready doors, ready pop, ready open. How are you? Ready close. Ready shut. Ready face. Happy video game. Thank you. Forward march.
All right. So all of the world leaders are there on that side of the White House when it comes to the European leaders meeting up with the president. Also, one more world leader, but this is going to be on the other side of the White House. Not sure if we have that live vantage point, but it is outside of the West Wing. That's the Ukraine president, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, to meet with President Trump. That does look like the Ukrainian flag that was just being walked across your screen. So that's going around the White House over to the front of the White House, the North Lawn there. So again, we're going to see President Trump meeting up with the Ukrainian leader momentarily. There's the picture right there. So that's scheduled for 12 minutes from now. So in 12 minutes, we'll be seeing, around that time, we'll be seeing Volodymyr Zelenskyy. We'll see President Trump step out as well, greeting the Ukrainian leader. Then they'll go into the Oval Office. We'll have all of that live coverage for you. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thank you so much for watching here on RSBN Live. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, welcome back. You'll be seeing Robert McNeely in just a bit after the meeting with President Trump and Zelenskyy. He'll be covering the remainder of the live coverage in just a minute. Before we continue on with commentary and various videos here, I just want to bring you up to speed on what's happening. For those of you that just joined us, we just saw a number of European leaders arrive at the White House, specifically anything from the NATO Secretary General to the European Union President, the Italy President, on and on and on. A lot of prime ministers all there. So what I want to do is go over the timing for what's going to happen today. And then we're going to go to an interview, and then we'll be seeing Zelenskyy any minute from now. So specifically, at 12 o'clock, we just saw that happen, the European leaders arriving to the White House. 1 o'clock, any minute from now, we'll be seeing Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine. 1:15, the two leaders will hold a meeting inside the Oval Office. This is part two. We know what it was like during part one. We'll see what happens here. At 2:15, an hour later, the president will greet the European leaders in the state dining room. At 3 o'clock, the president will participate in that multilateral meeting with the European leaders. That will be held in the East Room of the White House. The list, again, of the European leaders, the UK Prime Minister, the Italian Prime Minister, German Chancellor, the Finnish President, the French President, the NATO Secretary General, and the EU Commission President, all in attendance. Quite the names of people there when it comes to world leaders. This is something that President Trump confirmed on Truth Social has not happened before, the amount of world leaders at one point there at the White House. So I'm calling it a White House Summit 2025. Why not? Because that's what it looks like it is right now. 8 minutes out from the top of the hour, Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine on his way to that west wing of the White House. So we'll see the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, of course, greet Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Then they'll walk into the Oval Office. As soon as we see live feeds of the Oval Office inside there, obviously we'll be going right to it. In the meantime, we have a few minutes. We're going to go to an interview with Nicholas Fondacaro. He's an associate editor with Media Research Center. Let's go to that interview right now. Joining us now is the associate editor at the Media Research Center and Newsbusters, Nicholas Fondacaro. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So what's your take on how most of the media downplayed crime in Washington, D.C. after yesterday's announcement by President Trump?
It was amazing to see, considering that a lot of them have been here or live here, and they have studios here, and they all have stories. We all have stories, or at least they know people that have stories about people witnessing crime, them getting mugged themselves. There's instances of reporters having their houses broken into, or like even members of Congress. Us here just outside of DC, I try to limit my goings into DC just because of this type of crime that's there. And basically I try to keep it to any of the places that have a lot of police presence. And even that's not always the case that's a deterrent, because you go down to Navy Yard and there's shootouts there, there's carjackings all the time. Meanwhile, because it's where a lot of the stadiums are, the Nationals and the soccer team, even there you see all sorts of crime happening.
That's unbelievable. It makes me want to, if I drive in the DC area in the future, to drive a clunker. You know what I mean? That's a deterrent. But outside of that, I don't want to have to do that. I would like to have law and order there. To your point before about the mainstream media, most of them, that's why when I asked that question, I said most of them have said, oh, we're downplaying the crime. But there's that one on one of the networks, this female anchor, she said, no, this is a problem here. And I think that's what people need is simply honesty and fairness, right?
Exactly, especially when a lot of them have those personal stories. Like they'll say it's anecdotes, but it's still that personal experience where, like, if a lot of people have similar experiences, it becomes a trend, not just an anecdote. And especially one of the things that we have been seeing in the reporting is the ignoring or downplaying of the fact that there is a police chief that's sort of like one of the deputies amongst the underneath the police commissioner in D.C. who is now being investigated for manipulating the crime data to make it look safer than it actually is. And a lot of the reports are not mentioning that at all, whether it be ABC, CBS, NBC. They mentioned it last night. They sort of hinted at it that the police union boss was talking about it, but come this morning, they dropped it as well. So a lot of them are doing a bit of bias by omission by not having this important part of the story.
Yeah, they're just, as they say, fudging the facts. So as you know, the public has lost faith and trust in mainstream media, and now they have been searching for other sources of news almost on a constant basis. So with this new wave of conservative media, we have options out there, of course, outside of the man who started it all, Rush Limbaugh. So would you agree with everything I just said there? But also moving forward, it looks like conservative media is going to start maybe overtaking mainstream. You never know.
Yeah, you see like a lot of the very popular podcasts that make up a lot of like the top 10 include a lot of Republican right-leaning podcasts, or people who may not, or a bit more neutral in popularity, or at least are neutral in their political positions, like Joe Rogan, who has been for Bernie Sanders, has been for Trump. These individuals that are more about listening to what's out there and then sort of tailoring what they believe based on what information that they're getting. And a lot of people see that as authentic, being like, hey, this is what I believe now. If I get new information, it'll change. And that's why you're seeing like a lot of journalists sort of, or at least a lot of people leaning on these third-party journalists like in Substack, Free Press, and all these other locations.
Yeah, it's great to have options, especially options that are literally speaking what the people are saying out there, because it's just common sense. A lot of times it seems like these legacy outlets, they all just want to sound so eloquent and everything's this way, and it's all confusing anyway. It's a lot of weak, non-common sense reporting. And instead, we have a lot of great options out there now. So I'm curious on your take regarding Gen Z and their interest in current events and news. Now, like if you look at TPUSA events, it looks like there's a ton of interest out there. But what are you seeing there in the Northeast, you know, in Virginia, in the DC area, or just in your time working there when it comes to Gen Z? How interested are they in our way of life?
What I'm seeing with a lot of Gen Z stuff is that they're getting a lot of their information via their phones, not necessarily watching the TV, though we should also note that a lot of what they're getting through their phones are reports and push notifications and are conversations started by typical TV outlets when they put their stuff online, or when their clips of their show get put out there, and these talking points get watched by some and then get populated through things like TikTok, Instagram Reels, and then you get a lot of that misinformation being passed around through just sort of like that peer-to-peer communication via these social media apps. And I know that it's a thing that we're trying to get into and make sure we're watching here at Newsbusters. We're basically looking at some of the generic notifications and the like Apple News or Google News, where they are sort of the drudge of the left a little bit, where they're sort of amalgamating a whole bunch of different news sources and pushing different headlines. And a lot of that, of course, a lot of people read really much just the headlines, and they're pulling these stories and news sources from very biased outlets. So that's the thing that we're looking at.
I'd be very curious to see some of the numbers on that. So if you come down across a report, please let us know here. I'd love to have you on to talk about it, because you just spoke about something that I haven't really thought about when it comes to the legacy media. So we have the traditional outlets, ABC, NBC, CBS. We have all the cable news. We get all that out there, right? Then you have all these publications like The Atlantic and all that, right? They probably have dedicated social media teams to disseminate all of their BS to really focus in on the younger generation. I mean, it's like a duh thought on my end. I get it, but like, yeah, I mean, they don't only do it on TV and on the main, publication. They're also trying to do it on TikTok, Instagram. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah, I remember the Washington Post had a sort of a social media team where they would do like little skits or just like this sort of personal like TikTok videos to get people sort of interested in a story or to sort of do like these little explainer videos about a topic. And of course, those explainers would be lean and tilted left. And then with a lot of these, it's like a headline will be out there or a story will be out there, and you'll get like these influencer accounts who aren't necessarily affiliated with any one outlet, though they might have their own political leanings, and then they'll take the information that they hear, sort of repackage it, and then sort of talk about it like, oh, have you seen this report that says this? Or the reports say this, and they just sort of talk about it without really digging too much into it themselves, or just like it's something that interests them because it sort of tickles their liberal fancy, and then they push that out to hundreds of thousands, millions of viewers, and it gets spread through those viral videos or just these videos that sort of people are like, oh, did you see this? Did you see that?
And then they add their spice of how they edit and the music and the way it looks and the dramatic music with a few words that pop up at the bottom. And it's all that brainwashing, indoctrination junk that we've been realizing in certain cable news, in traditional broadcast and online. But this is a very interesting point. Let's see if we can have you on again, Nicholas, to talk about that. If you guys have any numbers that you've crunched even in the past, or if you're doing a new project coming up, please let us know here. And again, thank you so much for your time. Nicholas Fondacaro, the associate editor of the Media Research Center and Newsbusters.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nicholas. All right, back here live, looking live right there at the 1 o'clock hour, 1:01 Eastern, outside of the West Wing of the White House. Looking forward to seeing President Trump there. Of course, the Ukrainian leader, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, on the way. As soon as we see those live pictures, we'll take you there live. It's usually about a 10-second situation where the vehicle pulls up. We see President Trump step out of the West Wing. The two leaders, they have the handshake, and then they wave over to the cameras. I believe I see some movement actually right now. Usually the president would step out right before the vehicle pulls up. I'm not sure if that's the president or not. Pretty far vantage point for me in seeing the program monitor here in the studio. However, sometimes the reporters, they ask questions. They will, I'm sure, here too. It just depends if the president of the United States will say anything back. But we do know that they'll be going into the Oval Office. And as soon as we see that live feed, we'll take you there. So right now, 1:02 Eastern. Again, thank you for joining us, whether you're on the East Coast, Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, West Coast, or if you're watching someplace around the world. Thanks again for streaming in. Obviously, this is wall-to-wall live coverage that we have here for you. After the meeting with Zelenskyy, we'll have some more coverage, of course, right here as the European leaders will be met by President Trump in the state dining room. So as we wait for Volodymyr Zelenskyy, this is what we can do. We're going to go through a couple sponsors. If we see the Ukrainian leader pulling up to that White House, we'll cut right to that, and then we'll continue our sponsor read as soon as that is over. In the meantime, of course, you want to be prepared. You want the treatments your family might need before an emergency hits, but most pharmacies and insurance companies make that almost impossible with gatekeepers and outrageous prices. So All Family Pharmacy is different. Here you can stock up on your essential medications, order exactly what you want, keep it on hand so you're ready for anything. And this is while other pharmacies, they're raising prices. All Family Pharmacy has lowered theirs, giving you 25% off their most requested medications, ivermectin and mebendazole, plus an extra 10% off with our promo code RSBN10. So they offer medications many providers refuse, like ivermectin, started at about $2 per capsule. They have hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, antibiotics, antivirals, and more, all with a doctor's prescription included. So ordering is simple. You can just fill out your request online. A licensed doctor reviews it, and your medication shipped to your door in just a few days. You can check them out. You'll definitely find something you need there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 code for the extra 10% off. Also, Cove Pure, a great sponsor here at Right Side and a great product as we await Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Again, as soon as our producers and directors see the live feed, we'll be taking you right there. We want to tell you, though, about Cove Pure. Utah and Florida, actually, those of you watching from those two states, you guys just passed bills to ban fluoride in the water supply. So why are all these states suddenly doing a massive U-turn on fluoride when they've been adding it to our water supply for the past 80 years? Well, RFK Jr. has been warning us about fluoride for a while, and the government now admits to the fact that fluoride is actually linked to lower IQ. So in a study done by JAMA Pediatrics, one of the top medical journals out there, scientists found that fluoride levels over 2 milligrams per liter of water cause more than a 2% drop or 2-point drop in children's IQ scores. So that's why we're proud to partner with Cove Pure. Cove Pure is a water filtration system that sits on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call a plumber to set it up. Simply just fill it with tap water, plug it in, and get straight to work. Their ClearWave technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of impurities in your water, and anything that isn't water, meaning fluoride, pharmaceuticals, or forever chemicals, gets filtered out, leaving you with pure water. So once you try this brand, you're not going to want to go back to that tap water out there. The best part is it has that touch screen. It lets you choose whatever temperature you want, cold, hot, and warm. It couldn't be easier. So if you happen to like fluoride, of course, that's totally fine. You can get it through toothpaste or mouthwash, but the government should never, of course, force you to ingest it. So you can take back your right to choose. Go to covepure.com/RSBN for a limited time only. You'll get a special discount of $200 off of Cove Pure, a great sponsor here at Right Side, as we look back there live outside the West Wing of the White House. Now, again, a shout out and a thanks to all of these sponsors that we have here at Right Side and all of you that donate to the network. Without that, we wouldn't be able to show you any of what you're seeing right now. And many years of coverage that you've grown to enjoy here at Right Side, all brought to you by RSBN donors and our great sponsors. So thank you guys for doing so. 106 Eastern, awaiting the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. So in the meantime, let's do this. It's 107 Monday, August 18th. We know that the European leaders have arrived to the White House there in the South Portico. And then we're going to see Volodymyr Zelenskyy any minute from now. Again, we know what happened during the first part of part one of the Zelenskyy-Trump meeting at the Oval Office months ago. I was actually covering it here with you guys, watching it just like you were at home. What a situation that was. Remember when J.D. Vance, the vice president, stepped in and said some things? President Trump was saying, I have the cards, you don't have the cards, saying it to Zelenskyy. Well, since then, a lot of phone calls have been made. A lot of different diplomatic things have happened. So this may be happening where this war between Russia and Ukraine will stop. We'll see how the meeting goes today. If the meeting goes good, that means there will be a trilateral meeting between Putin, Zelenskyy, and Trump at the White House, possibly this week. Those are not my words. I've been reading those reports and seeing that out there. So that may be happening. It all depends on how today goes. Now, the European leaders, if you're just joining us now, they just arrived on the south lawn of the White House. They entered through the South Portico of the White House. President Trump will see them after the meeting with Zelenskyy. That'll be at the state dining room. Then around 3 o'clock Eastern, there's going to be this huge multilateral meeting between all of these world leaders. And that'll happen live right here on Right Side. So we see the camera moving a little bit. That may mean an SUV is pulling up, or he may be just getting a different vantage point. So we'll see which one it is here in a second. But a lot of live coverage today. And thank you guys for those of you that watched on Friday. There was more than 1 million people on just one of the broadcasts and 957,000 on another. And then that's just with one of the platforms out there. When you combine Rumble, YouTube, X, all of, watching online on all of the ways you could watch Right Side, several million people just watched on Friday alone. That reminds me of election night and inauguration day here at Right Side, where a combined 11 million people between election night and the inauguration watch. So that's, it's we don't take that lightly. Obviously that's a kind of a big deal in the sense of the amount of people watching, but it's always been because of one thing, just the common sense reporting here and seeing President Trump from all those rallies since 2015. So shout out to Joe Seals, the owner of this network, and Bridget Seals and Mama Seals and all of the hosts that have ever worked at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I joined September 3rd of 2022, and I'm so glad I did, because conservative media, it's the place to be, on the right side of history, instead of the mainstream media where the constant lies have happened and still do. And they could act like they're conservative, or they could act like, oh, they're a little bit more moderate to try and gain some more viewers. But we've already seen it's called the jig is up, right? So we already know that it's what has been done has damaged the trust of the people on the left side of history. But you guys are trusting the right side because simply it's, again, we're just like you guys. When we're out there interviewing you about all of the various topics about President Trump or just about our country, we're reporting it from that angle, the common sense things that we need in this nation. So to keep our freedoms intact, to keep us freely loving our God, our family, our country, working hard, get down with those taxes, increase jobs, right? Having a secure border, law and order on the streets, those that have broken the law, especially within the deep state and all that. President Trump's the one that said to obliterate and dismantle the deep state and globalists. He said it. I've been at a speech that he said that at, and that's something that is part of those 20 core promises. So we know what needs to happen for this country to continue to be free and to continue past President Trump to be great. And so we have these 3.5 or so years now. When I say or so, I mean, it's not, he's been in office for more than 6 months. So it's a little less than 3.5 years, but yeah, so we're seeing all of it unfold. A lot of history in the making. This is, as a journalist, as a reporter, as an anchor, as a host, whatever you want to call people that are on TV. Hi, my name is Matt. We're first writers of history because we're able to cover this. This is historic today. The amount of European leaders there, President Trump said on Truth Social, this has not been done before. So this is quite the day. Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing President Trump there. Any minute from now, we'll see Volodymyr Zelenskyy. While that happens, we'll have about maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe 15 at the most, where we'll see the next live feed of inside the Oval Office between President Zelenskyy and President Trump. That's that part 2 of when we saw part 1, when President Trump told him, I have the cards, you don't, and they had that meeting. So we're going to see how this second meeting goes. It's going to be very interesting. Thanks for watching this must watch. Usually it says must watch TV. Well, this is must watch live streaming. In the meantime, in that little bit of a break there, we're going to go to a video from Thursday night. My wife and I went to Atlanta. We saw the Pardon Me, the Bevelyn B. Williams story, a movie that just released. It was released on the 15th, on Friday. So we were there for the movie premiere. Silk was there. Dr. Alveda King, a family member of Martin Luther King, was there. Bevelyn B. Williams, the story about her. She was one of 23 people pardoned by President Trump, a pro-life person that was out there. Let's go now to Volodymyr Zelenskyy outside of the White House.
President Trump, sir, your message to the people of Ukraine as world leaders gathered here today. Russia continues to attack civilians this time in Kharkiv, killing many.
Is there a just stop for peace on the table? Will you see land to Russia?
All right, so there you go. That's the greeting. So what's next will be them in the Oval Office, part 2. Buckle your seatbelts. It's going to be interesting to see how Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be this time around versus what he was like in the part 1. Oh man, I remember just sitting here at the desk watching, couldn't believe the back and forth there with the vice president, with President Trump, with the President Zelenskyy. I think this time around it's going to be a little bit more smooth diplomatically, but also, you know, really though, outside of all of this, outside of the European leaders, outside of the White House, outside of Zelenskyy, Trump, and everything, what President Trump wants and what anybody would want that's on the right side of history, a good person would say, hey, we want the killing to stop. We want the war to stop. We agree with President Trump on that. We also agree, most of us do, for the D.C. National Guard to continue to be in Washington, D.C. Make that thing safe. Let's do it, you know? There's just a lot of different things that, you know, we are in agreement with, and we're looking forward to more things happening, more wins happening. Let's get back to the story I was talking about a moment ago. Now, I'm doing this because we have a little bit of time here, a little window. We are going to take you right there to the Oval Office. No matter what video is playing, no matter what's going on, we'll take you right there if we see a live feed, and we can continue that video after the meeting. But then again, this is about to be halftime in the sense of after the meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, there will be about an hour until we see the president meet up with, or maybe less, we'll see, with the European leaders. And then they have that multilateral meeting as well. So just a lot of coverage still to happen here. But pardon me, the Bevelyn B. Williams story, the video that I did, I actually just recorded it on my iPhone, interviewed Silk, interviewed Bevelyn B. Williams. Dr. Alveda King was there, got a clip of her talking. It's about a 2-minute video. This is all about that movie. So if you want to look it up, the Pardon Me, Bevelyn B. Williams movie. This is a video that I put together on Thursday night, so don't criticize too hard. I mean, I'm okay with some of this camera skill, but go ahead and enjoy the video.
I'm grateful. I'm just glad people are here and just, you know, the support that's coming out from the community. I mean, we were kind of thrown in the trash, but people still stepped up and decided we're going to support the movement and support Pardon Me. So I'm really grateful.
President Donald J. Trump said that, and he pardoned the pro-lifers. Bevelyn B. Williams was one of them. She was sentenced to 41 months in prison, and President Trump pardoned her, and I'm so grateful for that.
In an upper room with a few, he changed the world. That's a fact.
It was about common sense for us. Some things just didn't make sense, so we spoke out about it.
Continue to pray and start doing. We have this movie right here. If there's any churches out there that want to turn your church into the theater, then what you do is go to watchpardonme.com, get the information, fill out the application, and turn your church into a theater so that you can sow this incredible movie to your sanctuary.
Family, I'm speechless. That's hard for me. But I'm so very grateful. And that's why I'm not really saying anything. Just give God the glory. I never thought I'd see this story told this way.
Honey, let me tell you, it's been a blessing going through everything, and their rejection is God's protection. So I want everybody to go to watchpardonme.com to see this fabulous movie about Miss Bevelyn B. Williams.
It's new and it's fresh every single time to see so many people supporting it, even for the highest office in the world, in my personal opinion, to sign my little old papers. It's like, it's just amazing.
What would you say to people that haven't seen the movie?
Get ready. It's good. I didn't watch it. It's going to be my first time watching it tonight, but my husband watched it. And he's very critical. He's a cynic. He said, Bev, it's fire. So I'm like, all right, babe.
There's a piece.
Between us.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the president of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks, and I think progress is being made, very, very substantial progress in many ways. We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the president of Russia, and I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it, and today's meeting is very important. We have, I guess, the 7 7 very powerful leaders from Europe, and we're going to be meeting with them right after this meeting. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank
Please.
you for invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States. She sent a letter to Putin about our children, adopted children, and my wife, she, First Lady of Ukraine. She gave the letter. It's not to you, to your wife.
Oh, I want
it. Yeah. So we're saying this sensitive topic. Yes, please. And thanks to our partners and that you supported this format. That after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Finland, EU, NATO. I mean, all partners around Ukraine supporting us. Thanks to them, and thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you very much for being here.
President Trump.
Do you think it's fair?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, President Zelenskyy, you say in a post on X today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelenskyy of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, which is.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
And is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it. It's been almost 4 years now that a lot of people were killed last week. A lot of people last week. I mean, millions of people killed, but a lot of people last week for whatever reason, a big number, a lot of soldiers, on both sides. And I know the president, I know myself, and I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
And as you met with Putin on Friday, today you've got President Zelenskyy here. As you listen to Russia and Ukraine, which side has the better cards?
Well, I don't want to say that. I'm just here to be, look, this isn't my war. This is Joe Biden's war. He's the one that had a lot to do with this happening, and we want to get it ended. And we want it to end good for everybody. We want it to end good. The people of Ukraine have suffered incredibly.
And to that point, President Zelenskyy, are you prepared to keep sending Ukrainian troops to their deaths for another couple of years, or are you going to agree to redraw the maps?
Thank you for your question. So, first of all, we live under each day attacks. That today have been a lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead, small one year and a half. So we need to stop this war, to stop Russia, and we need support American and European partners, and we will do our best for this. So, and I think we show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, of personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good. Thank you.
Mr. President,
if the peace deal will be achieved, are you going to be willing to send American peacekeepers to Ukraine?
Well, we're going to work with Ukraine. We're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long term. This is very long term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again. We're going to make sure that everything's good. We'll work with Russia. We're going to work with Ukraine, and we're going to make sure it works. And I think if we can get to peace, it's going to work. I have no doubt about it.
Your team has talked about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved, but there'll be a lot of help when it comes to security. There's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. but we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
Vladimir Putin mentioned that the war will not end without addressing the root causes of this war. Have you had an understanding what are the root causes of this war?
Well, look, the war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended. It was, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and I thought this maybe would be the easiest one, and it's not the easiest one. It's a tough one. A lot of reasons for it. And they'll be talking about it for a long time, but they'll be talking about the others. Look, India, Pakistan, we're talking about the big places. When you look at, you just take a look at some of these wars. You go to Africa and take a look at that. Rwanda and the Congo, Republic of the Congo. That's been going on for 31 years. And so we've done a total of 6, and we really have 6, not including the fact that we obliterated, and it turned out to be a total obliteration, the nuclear, as you said, the future nuclear capability of Iran. And this one, I think we're going to get solved also. I feel confident we're going to get it solved.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you tell us about your conversations with European leaders and what they need to see to support an end to the war?
Yeah, well, we're going to be meeting with a great representative group and 7 very powerful, very big countries and great people, all friends of mine and friends of yours. And we're going to have some suggestions made. They want to see peace. They would like to see peace.
President
Trump, do you think it's fair to for Ukraine and for Russia to achieve a lasting and durable peace if Ukraine cedes its territories that Russia hasn't yet conquered? Do you think it's a fair peace for Ukraine?
We're going to have a lasting peace. Just to answer the first part of your question, we're going to have a lasting peace. I hope it's going to be immediately. I hope it doesn't have to go on. And I think people in the whole world is going to be very happy when that's announced.
Mr. President, you posted on social media, Mr. President, a very touching letter from the First Lady. And the letter was hand-delivered to President Putin. And it calls for an end to the war, essentially, because of the children and the children's future. Why did the First Lady feel that letter was necessary? Was it because she believes that Mr. Putin is the aggressor in the war? Is a similar letter being hand-delivered to President Zelenskyy?
So the First Lady felt very strongly. She's watched the same thing that you watch and that I watch. I see things that you don't get to see, and it's horrible. But when she's got a great love of children, she has a wonderful son that she loves, probably more than anybody, including me. I hate to say it, but she loves her son. She loves children, and she hates to see something like this happening. And that goes for other wars too. I mean, she sees the heartbreak, the parents, the funerals that you see on television. Always funerals. We want to see something other than funerals. No, she felt. It was a beautiful letter. It was very well received by him. And she did ask me to say, she would love to see this end. She would love to see it end. And she says it very openly, very proudly, and with great sorrow because so many people have been killed.
Mr. President, last week,
Brian, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for each of you. First of all, Mr. President Zelenskyy, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks
That
good.
guy said the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's
I remember that. Yeah, I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelenskyy.
In the same suit. You see, I changed. You are not.
Maybe yours is much better. Real quickly, upon peace, God willing to get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances and a little bit we need to work in the parliament because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need we need a truth, yes. everywhere, the battlefield, in the sky, and the sea, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say
we're ready.
during the war, you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake
You like this idea?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal because they've been so critical of you every step of the way as you lead the charge for peace?
It's an amazing phenomenon. I said that if in the settlement you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them, they would say, I made a bad deal. The level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all. I mean, we have great people up here. We also have terrible people up there that I think are told what to say. But, in solving all of these wars, they don't even write about it. I saw major wars. I saw wars that have been going on for 31, 35, and 37, and a couple of quicker ones. One that was going to go into a full-blown deal very quickly. You know what the one I'm talking about. It was a big one. But they don't even write about that. No matter what I do, no matter what, and this is not anything to do with you. It's probably to your advantage in a certain way. But no matter what I do, no matter what deal I make, from my standpoint, you'll come out good. Maybe President Putin will come out good. But they'll say Trump was absolutely horrible. It's just that, and I've lived with that for a long time. I've lived with it since just before the first election. I used to get great publicity. Now I get the worst publicity anyone's ever gotten in office, but I won in a landslide so that people understand they're the only ones that count ultimately. But I've also had great reporters. I've had journalists that are very good. But it's very sad when you do the right thing. As an example, they said, because of the fact that Vladimir Putin came to American soil, this was a tremendous defeat for Donald Trump. No, it was really wonderful that he did it. It was a hard thing for him